Thank you for joining us today at the Cyan for this evening's discussion by Matt Stinchcomb, who is visiting us, as part of the Cultural Residency Program of Greater New England Development. This program allows PNCA to invite artists, designers, entrepreneurs, educators, and writers to visit Portland, to stay here at the Cyan and experience the city and engage with us in conversation. I would like to extend our special appreciation and gratitude to Greater New England Development, Ann Edlin, Damon Tarlow, and the Cyan staff. We would also like to thank Design Within Reach Portland, Pendleton Woolen Mills, Tin House, and Pal's Book for their support and contributions to the residency. Their participation has allowed us to showcase the Pacific Northwest at its best.
Hello? Hey, there it goes. All right. I feel like a self-help guy. So, you've got to awake the snake within yourself. Anyways, thank you so much for having me here. I'll try to keep the kind of presentation part somewhat brief. I find the most interesting thing really is just asking, letting you guys ask questions of me and just kind of hopefully be able to help you out with your questions about Etsy. I did want to tell you a little bit about kind of the beginning days of Etsy and where we're at now and kind of what's ahead. And also talk a little bit about the way that the community has evolved on Etsy and what role community plays in our website. So if you'll bear with me, I've got some slides here that I think are going to work. This is Rob. He's the founder of Etsy. He looks like he's about 11, but he's not. He's actually 29. And early on, I was the old man. At the time, I was 30, about 29 or 30, and I was like the veteran old timer, which is funny because actually I was putting these little slides together this afternoon, and I was thinking about Rob and realized how much he looks exactly like Mark Zuckerberg. This is the founder of Facebook. They're not the same person, though. I'm sure Rob would be very unhappy if he ever saw me saying this right now. Anyways, so let's go back to 2005. Rob Kalin and I had a screen printing business here. We'll go back to this picture. Rob and I had a screen printing business. I was in a band, and I started out, making merch for my own band, and then I started doing it for other bands, and it started kind of growing in popularity, and ever the entrepreneur Rob was like, hey, let's start a business doing this. And I was like, all right, sure. So he actually, this is kind of foretelling about Rob, he talked this local restaurateur who had a restaurant across the street from us in Brooklyn to basically give us money to buy a press and give us space to run our business. And within a day he did that. I was like, oh my God, I gotta stick with this guy. And this guy later, actually, the restaurateur would become one of the first investors in Etsy. And that's another hilarious story that maybe I'll tell you guys about. But anyway, so Rob was a photographer, a woodworker. He basically I was telling anyone who was there yesterday, I was talking about how Rob's one of those people that's kind of annoyingly good at everything that he does. And so he was looking for a place to sell his work online. And, I was like, you know what, eBay is really not great for creative people. And it's kind of not very beautiful. It's very, it's great if you're Best Buy wanting to get rid of a whole load of unsold electronics, but it's not so great if you're a creative person. So I'm going to build a marketplace for everybody. So he got this guy, Chris McGuire from NYU, who he just met basically online there. And this guy, Haim, whose neighbor is here somewhere, I met her earlier tonight. And then they basically set out to build Etsy in our living room in Brooklyn. Basically, typical startup fashion, with no sleep. Took them about 3 months. And I was there working on it with Rob. I was still in a band at this time. And he's like, why don't you come do the marketing for this? And I was like, I've never done marketing before, but sounds interesting. So then I got this guy, who's Jared, who does all the really beautiful Flash programming on Etsy, which I'll show you. And then me, This is marketing, apparently. It's printing Etsy on a piece of paper. There's Etsy's first marketing strategy. This is our little print shop back then. And yeah, so in 2005, Etsy launched. And this is just a picture of the first office, which is Rob's bedroom. And this is actually cool, is that, you know, Etsy itself is entirely handmade, like the code and even the servers we built ourselves. The first computers that we had when we eventually started having more people working there, Rob insisted on building. When I was like, we should just go buy some computers. He's like, we're gonna build them. And actually here on the floor is kind of neat. This is the original kind of plan for Etsy. Like, this is how all of the parts of the site would work. So anyone who's running a business right now, this is probably horrifying. Like, this is what's keeping my business going, but it seems to work. It's changed a lot since then. So then here we are a couple years later at our Christmas party. We're starting to grow, and here we are today. This is mostly up to date. We're about 70 people. We think we'll be about 100 by the mid next year. We've moved offices twice now in Brooklyn, and we've really started building out the team, as you can tell. And this was actually an early snapshot of all of the sellers on Etsy a few years ago. So each little seller is represented by an avatar. Now we have about 200,000 active artists on the site and about 3 million members of the site, so shoppers on the site. So just kind of to give you a sense of, oh, this got funny with the spacing here, but just to give you a sense of our stats, we have 3 million members, as I said. About 200,000 of them are artists on the site. We get about 560 million page views per month. That's about 30 million visits each month and 11 million unique people coming to the site. So that's a whole other crazy new challenge that we have. That's been a really wonderful problem to have, but a lot of the work that we do is really on the back end, just making sure the site is fast and up always. You can't see, but to give you a sense of how the business has grown, in 2006 we did about $7 million in sales of goods that were sold. 2007 we did 27 million. 2008 we did 90 million, and this year we think we'll do about 190 million. So it's definitely going in the right direction. This also, try to forget the spacing here, I'll see if I can read this, but I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of some of the values of the business and what we were thinking about when we first started it, and what Rob was thinking about when he had the idea, and what I hope to make sure we always continue in the company as we grow. So our big mission as a company is to empower people to change the world's economy, and that's actually what we're trying to do by enabling individual micro producers to basically collectively be a force that that big business and global businesses have to reckon with. We want to bring heart to commerce, and I think the idea behind that is that we think that it should be a person behind the product. And I've been here this week talking in a lot of meetings about these kinds of things, and I always like to say, like, our vision of what Handmade is pretty broad. It could be music, it could be film, it could be published works, literature, it could be poetry, and of course it's art and things too, but what's important to us is who's producing the product and how they're producing it, less what they're producing. So it's about having that humane part of Etsy, basically humane in the sense here, like the human behind the product. Our principles as a company are to be transparent and a truthful business. That's something that we were really instilled in the company from the first day, because we really reached out to the community and got them involved, because to this day, Etsy is exactly what the artists make it. So whatever artists choose to put up on Etsy, that's what Etsy is. So they're part of the process, and they're our partners in this. So we're very adamant about making sure they know what's going on with the business, about sharing our stats, about being accessible. To this day, except probably this week because I will be traveling here, I've got office hours every Friday in the virtual lab, so anyone can come in and ask me any question about Etsy.